Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and today we're going to talk about Orisa, kind of what you can do, her playstyle, and just overall how she really feels in-game, just kind of some of the things you can do with this character. And before we get started, of course, this is on PTR gameplay, and I will say that, honestly, the first thing I'm going to say about this character, really kind of awkward in order to play without a team that's paying way too much attention with you. Overall, she feels like you need some characters that are going behind your shield, getting out a lot of damage, and just kind of poking at the enemies or trying to get some kills when you put that shield down. It's not quite the same as Reinhardt, who can run away, put another shield down instantly, move over and over again. It feels a little bit different in that sense, which I guess could be a good thing or a bad thing, especially when you have very, very uncoordinated teams, though, as seen right here. It feels really quite awkward, and it's really kind of hard to pull off a lot of the times. As well with this, I would like to say that she's really not like a Reinhardt replacement. I feel like a lot of people are saying that she 100% replaces Reinhardt because they simply don't want to see Reinhardt all the time. And while she can do decent against, Reinhardt and can be decent with kind of a mini replacement, a lot of the times Reinhardt can still just do really, really well. With that said, there still is a lot of cool times where you can pick her once you feel, in my opinion, is really strong. First off, she's super strong with her long-range damage, and she actually does really, really well against Reinhardt, at least in my opinion, and actually pretty well against Bastion as well. The projectile damage on this character is so much more than you would initially expect. You'd think that it would be really just honestly terrible, but as far as long-range projectile damage, it does a ton, and it does a lot of consistent damage. It feels pretty much the same as shooting far range with someone like Soldier, maybe even a little bit better, which, as a tank, is really cool. Now, with that said, close range, you probably shouldn't honestly be doing way too much of this person. You kind of want to be like a medium range person that sometimes runs up kind of close to face tank, but mostly focuses on using your E's to tank. When you're up close range, you don't really have way too many options. You can try to shift, walk around, of course you can try to just shoot as much as you can can try to pull people to one area, but overall it just doesn't feel quite as clean as staying at a middle-ish range. So again, you're probably going to want a comp that plays kind of at mid-range. Of course, as well, with this character, it does feel like you can't really dive in way too much. Whenever you try to dive in, whenever you try to just sprint in there, you can kind of press your shift, you can make yourself invincible from crowd control, but other than that, it doesn't feel like way too much. You are as much as a complete tank character as far as your stats yourself. It's mainly your E that is the thing that is going to be tanking for yourself, that's going to be taking the majority of the damage, and behind that, you're going to be trying to do a lot of damage, trying to pull a lot of people out with those right clicks, and as well just trying to get a lot of kills ended up. Also, one thing that I would like to mention is that you can get your ultimate pretty dang fast with this character. She does a ton of damage, has a lot of consistent damage at very far range, so it's not like a lot of the other tanks where it's kind of hard to get your ult sometimes and you just can't happen to get it. You can get it really quite often. As we see right here, got my ult pretty quickly, not the fastest, but, decently speedily enough. And as well, I've had some of the most DPS in my game in this game. I think I'm at like silver DPS the majority of the game, which is pretty cool as a tank, honestly. It feels kind of like Zarya, but further range, but especially when you're close range, a lot less damage. Zarya feels more like that close range person that will burst people through, while this person feels like someone that's a little bit better at that medium to farish range, which I will say is a little bit awkward to get used to initially. Even in this gameplay, I've played a few games after, even in this though, it does feel kind of hard to get used to exactly playing her, as a lot of the times you want to get close up, you want to get melee range, you want to be what a lot of the other tanks are, and just try to do that. But often you're just going to run in and then you're just going to kill yourself as you don't have anything that actually helps you tank once you're in melee range. Honestly, that's definitely the hardest thing to get used to. And if you are having a team that often wants to go in and won't wait behind your shield, won't poke, won't get a lot of damage, won't get a lot of kills from that, I feel like she might be a little bit hard to play. With that said, though, she does have some really nice moments when you get close up. So one of the best things to do is do a very similar thing to Winston. Winston just kind of runs in there, goes for those shields, and then just doing pretty well. Of course, there's the shield in the middle of the round, and you can do that with this character. As well, her shield never goes away, so you can just plop it down, and it's like Winston's, except for that it just stays there for a very, very long amount of time. So it feels kind of like an upgraded Winston shield in a lot of its cases, and if you're in melee range, just chuck that down on your feet, walk in between it, and they're going to have to waste a lot of their damage on that. That's where the majority of your tanking is going to be coming from. And you do, of course, have 200 armor. That's pretty decent. You feel like a similar kind of ish tank level to Bastion when he's outside of his form, so, that can feel pretty well. Speaking of Bastion, though, I feel like Bastion is someone that really you can do well against if you have a Reinhardt, but if you don't have a Reinhardt, it can be kind of hard. Now, I'm saying this because if you have a Reinhardt, the Reinhardt holds that right click, he holds up that shield, you put up your own shield, and then you plus your other DPS in your team break the enemy Rein's shield, shoot at the Bastion, and he's pretty much screwed. But if you're by yourself with this character, you know, you're the only tank, you're a tank with someone like Roadhog, oh, Bastion hurts you so bad. Your shield doesn't really block it for way too long. It just kind of gets mauled straight through, and it's just overall a really painful process in order to play this person if you are versus a Bastion. Of course, a really nice portion about this guy is the fact that, of course, you can shoot the Bastion from fairly long range, and you actually outrange the character. But if you're around a corner or if you're in close range at all, it does become really bit problematic. And I'd say that overall with this character, if you're in a very close range area, it does become a little bit hard to play them. As far as King of the Hill, I feel like your right click is super amazing in that going mode. You know, you just shove everybody together, you get a lot of burst, you get someone like a Genji, you get someone, well, in his ultimate, you get someone like a Junkrat, you get someone like a Pharah, you just kind of maul them. You can't keep out your E as long as you thought you could initially. I thought that you could send out your E and wait a few seconds, you press your E, and then it kind of like immediately goes off very, very soon after. As well with that though, do remember that when you're using your E, you can press E mid-air, it doesn't have to hit the ground, and it will also suck people to it, so don't forget that. Right here, we're just kind of jumping in, getting kind of mauled, but, you know, it's doing pretty well. As far as this shield again though, there's a lot of really cool situations what you can do with it. Of course, you can protect that damage boost, one of the best things to do. You can just put it around corners, and especially if you're trying to engage, if you throw that thing down and then go in to do a lot of damage, that can be pretty nice for your team, make them feel very safe, and a lot of people just kind of go in when you have that up. Of course, sometimes it won't work out the best, but a lot of times it will. Now to our ultimate, I feel like it's something that is really honestly quite powerful. Most of the time what you can do is just kind of put it around a corner, and then it's completely safe. There's not much the enemies can do about it unless they decide to dive it. I'd say that's honestly one of the best things you can do. Don't throw it right underneath you. Maybe you can throw it behind the cart. That's a decent idea if, of course, you're attacking the enemies, not if they're attacking you. And overall, as far as when you're attacking, it feels very, very strong. As well, when you're defending, you can throw that thing out there. It'll stay for quite a while. It also feels very strong right there. Here early on, we got that Symmetra with this character. When you have, of course, damage boost, plus when you have that shield gen, it makes your characters do a ton of damage, survive forever. I feel like that's definitely going to be something that we see a lot on defense. Maybe not for a little bit, but yeah, that's going to be one of those things that can work out pretty well. Another thing I want to mention though right here that we do see really close up is that you can make amazing picks with this character. It's kind of similar to playing Roadhog actually in a lot of the cases, because you throw out your E and you don't actually have to throw it out, you know, way too great. You know, just get a decent E, and then you can pull people out of their situation. You know, a lot of people hide behind walls, hide right next to walls, hide around corners. You pull them out, and then if you have a character that can pick people like Widowmaker, like Soldier, maybe even McCree at points, or of course Roadhog, you can easily get a lot of kills, pick off enemies, and then once your E's back up, go in again and just keep continuing from right there. As well, I do want to quickly mention your right click does not take any ammo. Of course, that's something that's pretty nice. It's not like the boop, doesn't take anything like that. And as well, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to use your shift. Of course, in this game, there aren't really way too many crowd control abilities, but of course, Roadhog Hook, a lot of other abilities, Maze Freezing. It's the thing that you kind of just forget about when you're playing this person, because there's so many other things that you can do, and often I do just forget about using that. But if you are trying to engage, or if you see somebody trying to go for a nice ultimate charge on you, go for that. Press that shift, and then of course use your E, or just use your shield, whatever button that is. Get that on the ground, you can protect a lot of your teammates. Overall, an easy thing to do, but definitely one of the best things that you should be trying to focus on doing. Right here we can see I just tap that thing down, and since it's around the corner, they really can't do way too much about it. Of course, if someone climbs up, they can try to kill it, but other than that, it was pretty good. Unfortunately, they don't push up way too much. We try to push in right here the best we can. But again, since we don't have a Reinhardt right here, it does become a little bit awkward. Of course, when you're playing with this character against a Bastion, if you can't push fast enough, and if you can't just keep picking up on the Bastion, he can just set up, kind of destroy your wall. Yeah, overall, kind of hard against Bastion, but overall, I will say that she's a very good character. Takes a little bit different amounts of knowledge to learn, just overall a little bit different of a tank, very far range, or very medium range, I guess. And not quite as tanky as a lot of the other characters, but if you can get used to that, if you can get used to just her kind of different playstyle, and if you can play with another tank, I feel like she honestly will be very strong, and especially on the maps with a lot longer ranges, I feel like she's going to be a lot better. Maybe some of the beginnings of certain maps, I don't really know exactly where, but definitely you should try that out. Anyways, those are at least my own ideas about this character, what I've been experiencing, and just kind of how I like to play this character so far. As always, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to tell me in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you did want to see any more stuff like this. Subscribe if you want to see any more content as well. And as always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.